Hi, I'm Brian Grant, and you're listening to On Time, the Brian Grant Foundation podcast about living with Parkinson's. If you want to know more about Brian Grant Foundation, go to briangrant.org.
Thank you for listening to this podcast, which is made possible by the generous support of our donors. Please consider supporting our programs to empower people impacted by Parkinson's to lead active and fulfilling lives by making a donation at briangrant.org.
Hey folks, before we get started, a quick heads up. This episode touches on self-harm and suicidal thoughts, which could be triggering for some listeners. Please be mindful of who's in earshot. Hi, I'm Larry Gifford, host of On Time, the Brian Grant Foundation podcast and president of PD Avengers. You can find us at pdavengers.com. Welcome to the final episode of our 4-part series exploring life after a Parkinson's diagnosis. Because yes, there is life after diagnosis, and it's often more ridiculous, more absurd, and more laugh out loud than we care to admit. This episode is called Permission to Laugh, because sometimes laughter really is the best medicine, especially for the soul. Let's be honest, Parkinson's isn't funny, but living with it, well, that's a different story. The awkward moments, the misunderstood symptoms, the unexpected silver linings, and all the wild, weird, wonderful ways we find to navigate life with this disease. So today we're exploring humor, not as a distraction, but as a tool, a way to cope, a way to connect, a way to reclaim joy, one chuckle at a time. You'll hear from people with Parkinson's who've learned to laugh with the disease, not at it, and why that distinction matters, because giving yourself permission to laugh, it's also giving yourself permission to live fully. Let's get into it. One of the most positive people I know with Parkinson's is Matt Eagles from the UK. He has been living with this disease for over 50 years, diagnosed at age 7.
I think everybody has a choice, Larry. I'm not happy all the time, but I guess I made a promise to myself and to the rest of my family years and years ago that, hey, I don't have a choice with living with the disease, but I do have a choice in how I react. And I guess if you're positive, people will engage with you and laugh with you, not at you. And I think that's so good for the spirit I have. I really do have so many times when, do I laugh or do I cry? As I'm sure we all do. But I think at the end of the day, if we cried at everything that went wrong with Parkinson's, I think we'd be pretty permanently upset. And I choose to be happy and smiling.
Well, and that's a tremendous inner strength you've got there because, depression, anxiety, and apathy are all trademark symptoms of the disease.
I have my moments, don't get me wrong, particularly when I'm on my own. But I like to feel I'm helping others. I like other people to be happy. I like to see smiley people. But I think everybody likes ultimately to help others. I know when people offer to help me, you can see the pleasure they get out of that. And likewise, I like to help other people. Not every day. It's like to help other people and see other people happy because that makes me feel better in myself that I'm doing something that will make a difference to other people.
Folks, laughter is one of the most natural things we do. Sure, it's a reaction, but it's more than that. Laughter is a connection. It's how we say, I get you, we're okay. It tells people we're safe, that we belong, and the best part, it's contagious. You're way more likely to laugh with people than alone, even if watching the same exact show, because laughter isn't about humor. It's about human, about being human. It bonds us. It breaks tension. It even gives your body a mini workout. Your diaphragm contracts, your lungs work harder, your brain releases endorphins, it lowers stress, boosts your immune system, and can even dull pain. But maybe most importantly, laughter is a reset button. It lets us breathe, let go, feel joy, even just for a second. It's a pivot away from fear, a rebellion against despair, and sometimes it's the best medicine we've got. Almost everyone I know with Parkinson's understands the power of humor.
Without a sense of humor, you're going to be pretty miserable.
My wife keeps me laughing all the time. And she laughs.
Yeah, that's true. A sense of humor is important. So,
Yeah.
It's very important because
what I do to make
you have to enjoy life.
What I do to make
I was
you
pretty
laugh?
sure that I can play on both sides.
Well, one thing you do, you always
Oh, she just gave you the eye.
Always what, honey?
you always get me multitasking.
And that makes you laugh.
See, yeah, it makes me laugh because you won't multitask.
I think I should exit stage left here. How important is humor with Parkinson's?
Oh, everything.
Everything.
You got to be able to laugh. I mean, without it, it's dire straits for us.
Oh, I was in bed the other day. I couldn't get out in the morning. I couldn't get out of bed. And I just sat there and I just started laughing. Because if anybody, I just thought I looked so ridiculous. My legs are moving. And I'm like, if anybody saw me, they'd think I was a bug turned on his back and was stuck. And, sometimes you just have to just realize it's just funny.
I remember one time I was putting on my underwear and I fell over. My bare ass is in the air and I just started laughing. I was like, I'll just cry if I don't.
Well, it's important to laugh. Like getting in this neighbor's car the other day when he didn't know I had Parkinson's and I was fuddling around with that seatbelt. I said, well, let me tell you this. You can always tell a Parkinson's person by how long it takes them to get in. He said, you have Parkinson's? I said, I have Parkinson's. See how long it's going to take me 5 minutes to get this seatbelt on. And I laughed and he laughed and it just kind of made it more spontaneous and all of that. So I joke all the time about things that we can and cannot do. And yeah.
How important is a sense of humor in dealing with Parkinson's?
You're asking the wrong crowd.
It's extremely important. If you don't laugh at yourself, you'll be crying somewhere.
That's it. And if I can't laugh at him, I'll be crying somewhere.
Well, and we all have to put up with his dad jokes. So, I mean,
yeah.
You do have pretty bad dad jokes.
Oh, hey, man, I love it.
Has it ever been a negative to have to be laughing at it in an environment where maybe people aren't familiar with people with Parkinson's? Or
I've been told it's not funny and that I'll learn the hard way that it's not funny. That with time, this disease takes away the humor. But I've always been this way, so I don't think it's going to change for better or for worse.
I think humor has its downsides, and in a way that it kind of masks your own sadness or your own how your true feelings, because you're always projecting a funny or a happy-go-lucky persona. That it's hard for people to understand that you can be a little sad inside sometimes.
Got to be honest about the other side too.
Yeah. Say that again.
I said you got to be honest about the other side too, and be clear with people that there's a lot of hardships mentally speaking in the Parkinson's and having Parkinson's.
Here are some examples from painter and DBS recipient Margaret Burns-Kohn.
So I was buying my car, and this was pre-DBS. I was buying a car, and sitting in the inside of the car, and the salesman was explaining all the knobs and gadgets on the dashboard, but he kept turning the heat up, and I thought, oh, what's this guy doing? I know that's the air conditioning, and he kept turning it up and kept turning up. Then it clued to me, and I said to him, so I'm not shaking, and I don't have these tremors because I'm cold. I've got Parkinson's disease. And he kept turning the heater up. And it was like the middle of summer, I think.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And do you find humor helps as much as art?
Yeah. I tell you, and it's a laugh, not because you have to laugh. It's a very spontaneous things. I don't consciously think to myself, oh, well, that's not something you should worry about. Yes, there are things. I mean, I take life seriously. I pay my bills. I drive my car, make sure there's gas in it. So I do all the responsible things. But there's some things that you just have to laugh at and say to people, is that really something to get upset about. I don't get upset or worry. I have 2 adult children, and when they disagree with each other, have to enjoy that process. I don't get involved. I laugh at them because I go, really, guys? Is that something that you should have a disagreement about? The DBS surgery, number one, was amazing. I'm a curious being, so the whole process just made me, it just fed my curiosity. Anyway, so I'm waiting to have my head shaved. So first of all, I think, okay, I'm going to go to the hairdresser and have a head shaved maybe the day before surgery. That didn't happen. I was admitted into the hospital, and I thought, okay, so the nurses are going to come and shave my head. That didn't happen. Then I get wheeled into the operating room, and these 2 surgeons, my surgeon and his assistant, take out these razors, and they start just shaving away. Anyway, so
they're not barbers.
They're not barbers, exactly. So that took care of that. So I was discharged, and it was roughly about 4 weeks later. I decided that I needed to go and do some shopping. So I popped into, it was actually Marshall's, and going back to my car, I felt somebody following me in their car. And I thought, oh, they're following me because they want my parking spot. So I walked faster. They sped up faster. I walked faster. They sped up faster. Finally, I turned around to look at the person driving the car, and she said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I've got to ask you, your hair is exquisite. Where do you get it done?" And I said to her, well, ma'am, thank you very much. If you want to pay $240,000, I can let you know the team that will do this for you. And so then that brought into conversation about Parkinson. So it's great to have these things done because it brings up the conversation.
Right.
Because I'm concerned that there's not enough people that know about the ins and outs of Parkinson's.
Have you ever laughed at the wrong time, like at a funeral, a serious meeting, or, I don't know, a urology appointment? And someone looks at you like, really? Now you're going to laugh? Yeah, been there. But let's be honest. Laughter isn't always convenient. Neither is Parkinson's, and yet here we are. So what's so funny? Everything, and also nothing. Sometimes I laugh because something's genuinely hilarious. Other times I laugh because I forgot what I was saying, where I was going, or why I walked into a room holding 2 spoons and no pants. True story. Ask my wife. She's still recovering. See, funny isn't just punchlines of pratfalls. Funny is surprise. It's when life zigs instead of zags, and instead of crying, you snort. It's when the universe hands you lemons and you make sarcastic marmalade and post about it on TikTok. Funny is truth delivered sideways. You want to know what's funny? What's really funny? Trying to take your meds on time when the pill bottle's childproof, your fingers are doing jazz hands, and Siri thinks levodopa is your cousin from Naples. Funny is naming your Parkinson's Earl, just so you can say, sorry I'm late, Earl was acting up again. And people nod like, oh, classic Earl. So yeah, what's so funny? This, you, me, all of us. Pivoting, stuttering, laughing at the absurdity of it all, finding joy in places no one thought to look. Because if we're going to live with Parkinson's or anything, we might as well laugh while we're at it. Otherwise, what's the point? Also, farts. Farts are always funny. Which is a perfect segue back to Matt Eagles.
Now, guys, I don't know if you know or have been to Japan before, but they have toilets. Don't get me wrong, they're extremely comfortable. Not that you want to spend a load of time on them, but they have several different buttons. And sometimes, if you press the wrong buttons, they can pull out a bit of a surprise. And it's making me laugh, just remember. Now, I was sat doing what you do when you get out of the bathroom, but I accidentally pressed and I'm guessing it's one of the buttons that should have been for women.
Yeah.
Because it kind of sprayed me where I wasn't expecting and set my dyskinesia off. And it actually caused me to sort of wobble off the loo. Now, normally that could potentially be quite dangerous. But, it was such a ridiculous situation to be in. I was just sat on the floor laughing at myself. And I guess that's just the way it has to be. If you got angry and cross in situations like that, then you'd be angry and cross a lot of the time. And actually, I'm just looking at the open door in my living room, and this brings together another story where the door was open, and I didn't want to grab hold of the door handle. So I kind of hooked my arms around either side of the door. And because I was trying to grip it so hard, it kind of looked like I was pole dancing the door. But what was worse was I was gripping that hard, trying to keep myself standing up. I actually managed to pull the screws out of the door. Oh. And the door, I ended up on the floor, cuddling the door. Yes. Which again was an amount, it cost me money to have the door fixed and what have you. But hey, it happens.
Now, I like laughing at my Parkinson's a lot, probably more than most people laugh at anything, because sometimes you have to. When your body does something wild, you can panic or crack a joke. It's my way of saying, I'm still here, I still get the punchline. But here's the thing. Can you laugh at Parkinson's too much? Maybe. Not just too many jokes at an open mic night. I mean, using humor to cover up what we're really feeling. Because if we always turn our symptoms into punchlines, people might assume we're fine. They don't see the meds, the fatigue, the mental strain. They just hear the laugh track. And sometimes we do that on purpose. To protect them. To stay in control. To keep it light. But if the jokes are hiding the grief, the fear, the frustration, we might be skipping the real conversations with our doctors, our partners, and ourselves. In the scheme of Parkinson's, how important is the sense of humor?
I think it's incredibly important, the sense of humor, Larry. I think, for me, I think it helps me cope with a lot of the bad things that happen, but it also encourages other people to reevaluate how they deal with things as well. I'm not saying, laugh at everything that happens, because some things are actually pretty serious. But I'm saying, don't put the blame on yourself or the condition for the situations you find yourself in. Because although it's a serious condition, if you put too much pressure on yourself to perform and do everything perfectly, then it's going to end up you're not going to end up in a good place mentally. And and I know, Larry, that if you're in a happier place, things kind of work for you better, don't they?
They do. How long did it take you to get to that mindset?
Crikey, it took a lot of heartache, actually. I caveat here, I did once or several times hurt myself, not that you'd show, but in pure frustration, and this is well over 30 odd years ago, bear in mind. But I found that is not the solution. Punishing myself or punishing the family by being upset isn't the answer. People respond much better to positivity, even if it's not, even if it doesn't really seem the correct way to behave at the time. Being positive in the face of adversity just seems to make things better all round.
How do you avoid being toxic positive?
That is an extremely good question, because I have been ironically, I have been accused of being toxically positive before. Not by name, but by certain posts on social media. I guess I show my vulnerability in the way that I speak. So people kind of get, well, actually, he hasn't been positive all his life. The fact that I smile at things and I smile at people is something that I like to do. I like to get positive feedback from other people because it makes me feel better.
I think when you are, or when I'm positive in the public and people notice us, concern at first, and then if we smile, then they smile.
Exactly. Smiling is infectious. And I'm well aware that not all people with Parkinson's can smile. But somehow, even if you have facial masking, there are things you can do that can be positive and portray positivity without actually having a smile. You can tell in people's eyes as well.
Well, you can also wear a T-shirt that says something funny.
Yes, you can. And that's one of the most engaging T-shirts I think I've ever worn.
And what's it say again?
It says, "I'm not pissed, I've got Parkies." And people smile at you when they see that because they read it first. If you wear a slogan on your T-shirt, however hard you think it might be for people to read it, they do. And you might have green hair or yellow hair. You have a T-shirt on that says the slogan, people will read it. And it makes them smile because they realize and they embrace the fact that you're being vulnerable, but you're resilient enough to take that message out into the world and spread the message. Hey, I've got Parkinson's, but actually I'm okay. I'm okay to display the symptoms in public. I'm okay to share my experience with you guys. And I'm confident enough in my own ability that you won't be upset to see me shaking or twitching or have dyskinesia in public, that I can engage with you. And if people realize that you're confident like that, and the more people can get out and sort of share their experiences, I think the more confidence it gives you as a person or as an individual.
What advice do you have for people that are just coming to grips with the disease and they're like, I don't know that I can be positive about it, or like what are ways to begin that process?
I think the best way to begin the process and try and is just be yourself. Be confident in the knowledge that when people look at you in public, it's because it's down to a primeval fight or flight response that's engaged within people's brains. It's not because they're staring at you specifically. They're trying to sort of process, are you a danger to them? And this, everybody does it. It's a primeval response. Are you going to be a danger to them? And then what I do is always say, it's okay, I've got Parkinson's. And I know it's not everybody's way of dealing with it. The more people can show that it's okay to go out and wobble down the pavement or the sidewalk, the more it's accepted by the people. The more people say, hey, that guy's got Parkinson's, he's cool, or whatever they might say. It's trying to allay fears of other people and not you. That, hey, I've got Parkinson's, I'm dealing with it, I'm okay. And if I need help, I will ask. And I think it's just be confident in other people's ability to process that you are actually a pretty cool person, even though you might be staggering about or wobbling or limping or whatever. You're not necessarily drunk. I think just try.
Not necessarily drunk.
No. Well, some people like a drink. I used to like it. I don't drink particularly now much, but hey, I think you got to be try and realize that not everybody's out to be rude or have your. Most people, if you're dead honest with them, will have your back, and I think that's my main message. People love to help others. People love to feel they're helping others, and honestly, the most unlikely people give you some help and support. So I think that's my main message. People like people who sometimes appear a bit vulnerable on the streets, not to take advantage of them, but just to show they care. And in general, people, even the most people who don't look like they care about people. So be out, be proud, don't hide away that you've got Parkinson's. Be yourself. Be out there. And just do things. Don't let things stop you.
Exactly. Don't let it stop you from being yourself or from having a laugh. Look, I love a good laugh. Give me a Jimmy Choi dad joke over heavy drama any day, but we've got to make space for the serious stuff too. Because Parkinson's isn't a sitcom. It's our life. And yes, there are hilarious moments, but there are hard ones too. And we're allowed to feel all of it. So by all means, laugh at your Parkinson's, loudly, sarcastically, relentlessly. Just make sure you're not laughing instead of feeling. Make sure the joke isn't the only way you let people know what's going on. Because you deserve to be supported. You deserve to be taken seriously. And yes, you're allowed to be funny, just not only funny. Special thanks to Margaret Burns-Kohn, Anna Cohn Donnelly, Richard and Angela Huckabee, Kevin Kwok, Bill Buckalew, Yvonne Jackson, Jimmy Choi, Allie Signorelli, and Michael Fitz, all of whom helped bring this podcast series to life across all 4 episodes. And special thanks to Matt Eagles for sharing his joy and positivity. For more tips, community classes, and ways to live well with Parkinson's, visit briangrant.org. For the Bryant Grant Foundation, I'm Larry Gifford. We'll talk again soon.
The Bryant Grant Foundation empowers people impacted by Parkinson's to lead active and fulfilling lives. Help support our efforts at briangrant.org. A special thank you to Raphael Sadiq for providing the music for this podcast. This podcast is produced by Brian Griggs. Learn more at griggsproductions.com.